Hi, everybody. Is there a dry eye in the house? I'm guessing no. No. I watched the episode again earlier today, and even I've seen it a couple times now. It still got me several times. I'm Jim Halterman. I'm the West Coast Bureau Chief for TV Guide Magazine. Welcome. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm really excited to find out more about the episode and all the work that goes into something like this, because it was amazing. So I'm glad we have LaTanya here tonight. So LaTanya Richardson Jackson, come on out.
Thank you. I am your obedient servant.
Well, congratulations on this episode and this arc. You were on 3 episodes, is that right?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you, Jim.
Okay. You've done it. I mean, I was looking over your credits, so you've done a little of everything. What were there some unique challenges with this that you hadn't kind of hit before?
I think that this year was, these last 12, 14 months was sort of dicey for me because I had a lot of emotional challenges, losing a lot of people, a couple of whom were actors that some of you know. And so for that reason, I was sort of emotionally spent. So when Shonda brought this to me, it was a blessing and a curse, because once I started working on it, actually my daughter's best friend's mom had just passed with the same cancer. And it's an aggressive strain that once it hits, it's almost the same, affects you the same in the breast the same way that pancreatic cancer used to affect pancreatic cancer patients. So I was trying to figure out, how I could not emotionally invest in it so that I was indulgent with my feelings about it and still tell the story truthfully without sort of gilding the lily or just giving into it, because there were so many times when I would talk and the memory of the people would visit me and I would start to seize. And so I had to find a way to sort of dance between feelings and yet telling the story from a very natural and truthful vantage point.
Well, TV is such a fast-moving beast. How much time did you get to prepare? Because they shoot these episodes fast. They don't give you weeks and weeks of rehearsal, but what did you do?
I was crazy. But having been no stranger to craziness, I just jumped in, and my husband Sam is here. Everybody wave at Sam. And as he knows, I got very little sleep, because learning the lines when you jump into an episodic is what you first need to do so that you don't hold the machine up. Now, the machine has been in place and you're coming into the machine. So the first thing you got to do is make sure that you are lined tight so that they're not waiting on you. It doesn't matter if they're waiting on the stars, but the actors who come in, and I always tell everybody when they try to make an assessment of the kind of actor I am, I said, I live in a very rarefied world where my husband is a superstar. I said, but I'm a blue-collar actor. I go to jobs, I have to go to work and go to jobs. So I'm not really, I can't show up and not know the line. And sometimes, when you're in those type of episodic situations, you're not getting a lot of rehearsal. You get to go in, do it. They say, we're going to rehearse for the camera. And that's your time to say, okay, let me grab this and see if I can. Next thing you know, you're out, whether you said the line. That's why I used to think that you could get the rehearsal in by not reading it. But then you start to miss something, and they'll say, once you hear a director say, just read it, you realize you can't rehearse it for yourself then either. So you have to rehearse in your trailer with a mirror. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie and say it wasn't, because that Shondaland machine that's a machine. But let me tell you, it is like Disneyland. I know why they call it Shondaland, because it's everything, but it's also everything that you can use, because they are the most supportive and generous group of people that I've had the pleasure of working with.
Well, and the show's been on, this is the 13th season that just wrapped up. A show does not stay on the air that long if it doesn't have a rhythm both on screen and off.
And have good workers. The writers are good, the directors are good, the actors are good.
Yeah. What was that first conversation like with Shonda about this role? What did she tell you? Did she tell you the whole thing that
you know what she said? Okay, go. That was it. That's it. Okay. Anyone who has worked with them and worked with her knows, well, now I know, I have plenty of conversations with her on a regular, on a basis of friendship basis. But at work, she doesn't talk to you. You talk to the people who she has hired. That's pretty much it. She says, hey, that's it.
Okay. She's got things to do. She
does.
How many shows on the air? Yeah.
When you do at the read-through, she's on right there on her laptop. I was going to say typewriter. She's right there. You know how old I am. She was right there just typing away while you're talking. It's like, oh, man, she's working. Next thing you know, they say, okay, new script.
So it is a machine, definitely.
It's a machine.
It's safe to say you didn't know Kelly McCreary before you stepped on there?
I met Kelly, but I didn't.
Kelly plays Maggie, who's the daughter.
Is she not incredible?
Amazing.
She was wonderful.
Amazing.
She is wonderful.
But I'm curious, you did know her before you stepped into the role?
No, I had met her at some function or something, so I was excited. What was interesting was when I gave her my backstory, I said, now look, this is how I'm coming in, because we didn't have that inherent in the script. I said, I'm your mother who, I knew the mother had divorced the father from her lines, but that was all it said. I said, but I ran a charter school, so then I retired from the charter school and decided that, this affair that I had been having really was not what I wanted to do. So that's when I went off, because they say she went off to make soap in Hawaii. So I said, now, in order to do that was not like a job that I really thought that I really wanted to do. That was like me trying to figure out what I was going to do when I went to make that soap. So I ran a charter school, and she said, oh my God, that's in my bio for my family. My mother had a school that I had been a part of growing up, and so it was kismet. It was just, we just were in sync immediately.
And there's so much tension and history with the characters that you see play out in these 3 episodes. There's a lot of just resentment and anger and a lot of things going on. How did you work with Kelly to kind of make sure that was all conveyed when you don't have a lot of time?
You know what? That just comes from being good. No, I don't know. It's like when I tell the kids I work with, when if you tell the truth, you show up with the truth and play the scene honestly. If you've given yourself to the moment, then the moment will take care of itself. But I don't know, we just trusted each other, but it was a great relationship off camera as well as on camera. So I think it sort of just bled into it. Plus, I'm everybody's mama, so I immediately was like, okay, let me tell you how this is going to go. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to She was like, okay, because she's tiny. Oh, okay. I said, okay, I'm just letting you know. Okay. So we kind of had no choice. We had no choice. We plugged into each other and trusted that it would happen. You can't think about that when you're working, though. You know what I mean? You have to stay in the moment. Because the minute you start directing yourself and trying to see how you're doing, which should I turn this way? Is my stomach in? You mess yourself up. And it always comes off a little self-conscious looking to me when I watch something or someone like that. So, trust. That's how we did it.
And you mentioned directing. Ellen Pompeo directed this episode, who plays Meredith Grey. How is it working, just either this project or others, how is it working with a director who's also an actor? Is it a different experience?
I think that it has been my experience that actors make pretty good damn directors. And I think it's because they're so methodical in in the character, in your own character. So if you've got to do that over the breadth of a script for each character, you sort of already have an easy way in, because you know what each thing entails. She was over prepared, and I don't know how she could have been, because she just got 3 kids and the rest of the show. And, each episode, and she only was directing one, that one episode, but she had lines to learn as well, and the lines from the other show, because they were shooting 2 shows. That's the other thing. That's when I talk about a machine. They shoot 2 shows while in tandem. So while we were shooting the show that I was in, they were also shooting another episode. And she was jumping back and forth from the set, go to set 9, to go to set 10 where we were, like this, and yet directing. But she did a hell of a job, which is why in that last episode, something that had never occurred on Grey's Anatomy, the entire episode was us. They didn't go to another story, if you notice. They never not do that, and it was wonderful. I had a great time. I think she's a great director.
So, and you do have a scene with Ellen that's really beautiful, because I love scenes with mothers and daughters or pseudo-daughters, and there's a lot of Meredith's mother, that history for people that know the show.
I saw Meredith's mother on Broadway, too. Kate, if you get to...
Kate Burton, yeah.
Yeah, Kate Burton's in a great play, Present Laughter, with Kevin Kline. She is excellent. She should have been nominated for a Tony. Okay. So if you get to New York, you can go and see Meredith's mother.
She's still out there. But how was shooting that one particular scene with her? Because it's a very intimate scene, and your character is very sick, and I want to talk about that after we do that.
She was sick, and you had to remember the history of her daughter being biracial and coming to live with the white daughter that I had never met. I had never met any of them. So that's why when, she told her, I had misgivings about her first coming to stay here, but I'm glad she came. It was what Ellen had said from the beginning. She said, don't try to take care of me in this scene. That's just remember, don't try to take care of me. Be honest as the mother of how you really feel about it. So she, I'm saying she did great homework, and she gave you great setups to how to get into it. It was wonderful.
And there are a lot of scenes of you really going through it. There's like the montage of you after you're going through all the therapy and all the different medicines and treatments and everything. As an actor, how do you approach that? Because there's always that line of getting too big with it, or just you're sick or you're coughing, that sort of thing. You did a beautiful job, but how do you approach that? Because I know I've seen it done not well, and then this episode's very well.
They have a great consultant on that show, and I have the benefit also of having a friend who's a doctor and a sort of cancer specialist. He created a drug for cancer, and I talked to him about it. When I told him what the malady, the kind of cancer it was, I said, so he said, well, a lot of times those people who have that, they have a hard time walking distances. It's like, so I spoke to the consultant on the show, who's also a doctor, and I said, I talked to my friend, and this is what he said. He said it's right, but it's not a fall down thing. It's a walk, and then there's something that catches inside of you that you can't push yourself farther. So she said, but it's a cramp like when you're having a baby, so that's why you bend over. So it's like no, this is as far as I can go. We have to sit down and wait. So the bending over was actually something that was given to me, because they said I remember what that was like. And you know, when most people, now I have ADD too. So when most people when I would watch people before I had a baby, I would watch people when they would get cramps. They would always brace and go backwards. That is not what you do. I said, oh, they hadn't had a baby, because everybody after that told me, when you get the cramp, you go forward. It's like, oh, you can't even brace yourself to go backwards. It's something that pushes you up this way. So I understood what they were saying when I understood what he was saying, that there's something inside of you that catches in your here that makes you go that way. So
that's like a natural thing. That's just
Yeah.
your body just does
Yeah.
that. You brought up Broadway, and I just saw Little Foxes, and it was
which
just
one
wonderful.
did you see? Did you see it twice or did you see it once?
I just saw
join in, jump in anywhere you are going. You can tell us what you've been doing too. So, which one did you see?
I saw Cynthia,
Laura.
Cynthia Nixon played Regina,
Oh.
and Cynthia Nixon played Birdie.
That's what I'm saying. Which
And it
one
was-
did you see?
Yeah, so that's what I saw, but they were nominated for the opposite roles because they
Right.
trade roles every performance. But what I was going to say is Richard Thomas is in there, and he has, spoiler, he has a heart attack in the course of the play, and he does it so well. I was so impressed because, kind of like what you just said, I think he gets that pain,
forward.
he goes forward, and it was really fantastic. So anyway, that's just a little segue. Sorry. Diane's also, and I think it's just part of her character, she's pretty calm through all this. I mean, Maggie's the one that's frantically trying to get an answer and trying to get all this taken care of. Is that in the script, or was that your personal choice that she be kind of even-keeled about it all?
Well, I was sort of trying to build a timeline, and if you really, which you're not going to do, but if you really went back and went, line by line, I was concerned about when and where these things were occurring and how long she had it. She had had this cancer for a while, and she had dealt with it, so that by the time that she went to Jackson, to Avery, then she knew something. She knew she had the rash, but so when she asked him, "Can you get rid of this?" She thought that this thing that had been in her head was just something that was in her head. So she found out it wasn't. She immediately went back. Remember, she left. She was gone a long time. That's why all those episodes in the middle, she was having chemo, remember? So a lot of time had transpired before we get to that other thing. And then the time was jumping when she started the trial, the clinical trial. The time was jumping, and I guess they didn't want to code it and say 6 months later or 4 months later, but some time had transpired. So, yeah, listen, it's the luck of the draw. I cannot tell you how. It was like, I only knew why. I don't know how it was happening. I just knew in the moment why it was happening. So, and it just came together. I thank God for it.
For the big, I'll call it the big death scene where Diane does actually die. Where was that shot early? Was it shot late in the production? When did you actually shoot that?
It was shot the last day. Okay. Thank God.
I was gonna say, were you looking forward to that scene, or were you afraid of that scene? How did you feel about it?
I didn't know, because I didn't want it to look hokey. That was Debbie Allen too. Debbie Allen is producing over there, and she was really good about helping Ellen to let the space play itself out before. Technically, there's a lot that, as you all know, that directors tell you because the light, because the camera, because whatever. So she had said, I want your head on the pillow this way, so that when you finally close your eyes, we've got this picture. But when they started to do it, Debbie said, yeah, or however you just feel yourself doing it. And so that's why my eyes were open, because I've been in a room like that, and the eyes were open. So when I kept them open, she said, that's what I wanted you to do, but I didn't think you could hold your eyes open that long. How do you do that? I said, child, please, you know those acting angels, they show up. They show up for you. And I guess they just stuck something in my toothpicks, and we kept it open. But that was real time. That was a no-cut, real-time shot. So there, who can prepare to? I mean, when you're growing up and you're younger, like I said, I'm older now, so I wasn't in a mirror going, "Oh, she died like this. Oh, she died like." It was hoping for the best, so that, like I said, I've been in a room like that, and what I saw was gone. And I said, right, let's try it that way. And you know, you could have closed your eyes. You could have, most people close their eyes, I guess. I don't know either.
But you nailed it. You nailed it. Didn't
God
you nail
bless
it?
you for it.
Yeah.
You all are just kind. Thank you.
I was watching. I was like, "That's a death stare." That's just
a death stare, right?
It was, yeah. Because you kind of, I think as audience members, especially since I'd seen the episode before, I was looking for just like a little quiver or just something. I was like, "No, she's gone. She's gone." That's amazing. With a storyline like this that is so heavy, and I know it's taxing on you just emotionally, but do you leave that behind on a set, like any kind of big scene like this? Or story, or do you carry it with you because it's hard to shake?
It wasn't so hard to shake that day because there was a scene that followed it with Richard Lawson, who was playing her father, and Jim. And what happened, I watched it, and it created something else that made it hard for me. I realized that it was over. The job was gone. And so I kept trying to, I said, well, did she have a sister that didn't get there in time, a twin or something? But yeah, it was something. It had been a lot the entire time. So to finally being able to not even think about it was hard. But it wasn't so much hard to let go because I do a lot of theater, so I think I know where that muscle is.
Well, and Kelly gives such a great performance in that final scene because she just cries, and it's beautiful. How was it? How hard was it for you to stay still when that's going on right across from you?
That was hard because she's so incredible, and I watch people. I watch actors. I'm so in love with actors and what they're doing that I was trying, even though I was still in it, it was like I could see her do it. So it was like, oh God, look at my child. Get down. So we had to do that a couple of times too. So it was the kind of thing where you just have to resign yourself to the moment, to the situation. That's why I said everything takes care of itself in the moment. But it was hard because she really is so good, and she was so good in that. It was a joy because my inside was watching her because I had left. So I said, oh, now I can watch the rest of this now, see what's going on. So that's kind of what I did. I disengaged and stayed engaged.
I want to go back in time just a little bit to when you started your whole career, and I'm curious. and I'm curious, was this always your path? Was it always going to be acting? And talk about that.
I think it was really supposed to be directing, but when there's something about acting that is so immediate, an immediate feeling, and I'm a very feeling person, and I could access that more so than telling you how to do this thing. I could access that quicker for me as a feeling and being a needy person than I could directing. So I sort of focused myself in that direction. Now, I want you to know that I'm intellectually saying all this, that I came to this. I didn't know when this was happening that that's what I was doing, but now I'm thinking that maybe that's what I was doing. So I I love acting and I love actors and I love being able to take it and sort of shape it and do it, but I think I really was supposed to be a director because I can kind of put it together and I really do like telling people what to do. So that's next. This is not just some, oh, you're 100, so now you're going to direct. I'm like, no, I know that somehow, somewhere. I mean, I've done some directing, so I like it a lot. But acting, as you all know, you know, most of you here are actors. I guess once it's like a mosquito bite. You just, you know, you itch with it. It's there. You have to sort of see it through on whatever level you can see it through on. And I just been blessed. I've been blessed on a lot of levels to work with a lot of different people. They have allowed me much, and I have lived much in it, acting. So I just, you know, it's my thing.
Who were your early inspirations? Like when you were getting started, like who did you see that you kind of admired or?
My greatest inspiration were the people who were around me, like Georgia Allen and in Atlanta, Joan Lewis, you know, the Molettes, the people, Dr. Baldwin Burroughs, and people that you probably never even heard of, Electa Twyman, Andrea Fry, and Adrian Lanier. They were all on that level for me because I could touch them. When I watched beyond my situation, of course I was watching Ruby Dee, and in fact, someone told me, a teacher told me, you gonna stop talking like this or your teeth. Where does I said, oh, I got that from Ruby Dee. She was, well, you're not Ruby Dee, so you can. I used to love to hear her do that. You know, she told me, oh God, I thought that was so killer. Obviously, it was just for her because I had to let that go. But Betty Davis. You know, that's how I started smoking cigarettes. I don't smoke now, and you should stop if you do. Stop doing that with the cigarettes. Betty Davis. There were, oh God, and what's her name that did Sweet Bird of Youth? Y'all don't even know what that is. What's her name, Pauletta? Well, definitely Donna Sands, who I got to work with. Not Jessica. No, it wasn't Jessica. Who did and interior. And she did interiors with, well, you know who I'm, oh, come on, Guidi, who did that? Geraldine Page. Geraldine Page, Cicely Tyson. This is, you know, I watched all of them a lot. A lot.
And how is it when you see somebody that you admire, and like you said with the Ruby Dee thing, that you try not to imitate them, but you try and kind of channel it your own way?
No, I think when you're young, and I tell students that when you're young, that's what you're supposed to do. You do imitate them because it gives you a way in. We're always trying to find a way how to access the character as it is, and you don't have to worry about sitting trying to you know, if you've seen somebody do it that way. Do it 500 different ways. I got to work with the National Theatre of London last summer, and during rehearsal, during the process, I realized how we are taught and how we work differently here. We're always trying to find the finite first. You know what I mean? We're always reducing something. They do it really broad, and we're taught not to do that. They do really broad, offerings to the situation. Yeah, you're gonna end up in the same place. You are gonna have to reduce it to its, most finite positions, just for stillness. But before then, before you close yourself off, you should scream it. You should do it as many ways as you can, because that's gonna give it a certain weight. It's going to give it levels. It's going to give it color. It's going to flesh out the cell of what it is in the character without you just saying, it's this, it's this. You know what I mean? You get to sort of ride through it. As abstract as that may have sounded, if you think about it, it's not.
It's would you say your approach is different depending on the medium, whether it's film, TV, or stage? Do you approach the role and everything differently?
I don't think the approach is different. I think the delivery ends up being different because you're admonished not to do it like this on a screen or in front of a camera, but you can do it like that on a stage. So the delivery becomes adaptable to the medium.
I did look at some of your credits. You have a lot of them. You've played a lot of no, this is all good, but you played a lot of different roles. I saw like lawyer, a judge, a lieutenant. What profession have you not played yet? Because I feel like you've done quite a few of them.
Whore.
I knew when I said profession, it might go there.
Courtesan. Oh, was I a whore in Perdita? Courtesan then. Doctor. I played a doctor, didn't I? People do call me for information. I don't know. You know what? I can't even talk about it, but there's a show that's in the process that's on air now that they're asking me that same question. What would you want to be? And I said, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. President.
I want to ask you, I did some other of your roles. Fried green tomatoes. Tell me about fried green tomatoes.
I was young. Am I talking through this? Can you hear this?
I think for the recording they need you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because they're recording this.
I was young, and I went to Spelman College in Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta, and Fried Green Tomatoes was shot there. It was my first major motion picture job where I got to be with real actors. Kathy Bates, to this day, is the reason that I am in the Motion Picture Academy, is the reason that when she had her television show, I was on it.
Harry's Law, right?
Harry's Law, yeah, I was on it.
Okay.
So she kept up with me, and I kept up with her. So it was quite a time. Jessica Tandy, I got to meet and watch her work. And that's the one thing that, in addition to copying actors, you can always go and try to watch them work. It's, good, bad, indifferent. Watch actors work. That for me, Fried Green Tomatoes, that was my joy. I was in a real film. Cicely Tyson was there. I had no idea, of course, at that time, having graduated from school and stuff, that it was going to don't even know if I knew what a blockbuster or a big hit was. I just knew movies, we just went to the movies all the time. So for me, getting to do that at that age, at an early age, and still being, having been a student, and it was everything. I couldn't get to the set soon enough. I was probably the first one there with the grips and everybody else.
We're gonna get some audience questions here in a second. Let's just go to the audience questions. We already answered this one. Hang on, let me put this down.
Well, thank you, Jim.
Victor would like to know, what would you have done different if you weren't an actress?
Who is Victor? Hi, Victor.
Victor always gives good questions. He's here every time.
I don't know. I can do a lot of things. So I don't know. What would I have done? I can do a lot of things, but I would not have done the other things that I can do as a profession. You follow me? I can do a lot. I do a lot. But I would not have chosen any of those other things that I do as a profession. So, nothing.
That's a good answer. Where's Gigi? Gigi's right here. Hi, Gigi.
Gigi.
She says, hi, Ms. LaTanya. What about your career motivates you the most? and how do you combine it all with family?
God has given me a tremendous will to do. And we have a daughter whom I always wanted to impress. So it was incumbent upon me to work so that she knew what was expected of us as colored women and colored girls. I always wanted her to know that there should never be a time that you don't understand that you don't have to work, that if you find yourself not having to work, it has to be your choice. You know what I mean? But do not expect that the world is ever going to give that to you as a given. You don't wake up like that. So she motivates me. I have a healthy competition with my husband, so he motivates me. And wanting to do good work motivates me because I'm so in love with the thing of it. You know, I think that this is the most unnatural, but the greatest profession in the world is to be in entertainment. I just love it. So that's it. That motivates me. I feel, you know, I just had foot surgery, so I'm like, you know, but I did all this stuff. My doctor was even concerned that he was going to let me fly to New York to go do everything that I had to do. But this thing that we do and watching it and being in it, it makes you want to do it. It just pushes you along. And I think that's the disease, that if we have it, you just do it.
Are you an actor that likes to watch yourself? Do you go back and watch your films and TV shows?
No. No.
All right. Asked and answered. I like it. What do you consider your first big break? I don't know if it was Fried Green Tomatoes or is there something else?
I think it was Fried Green Tomatoes. I can't remember. See, now, my first big break maybe was a play. But that was definitely the first film. But I worked with E.G. Marshall. See, I'm going to say some names that you probably are not going to even remember because you're all children. E.G. Marshall and Victor Jory. I got to do a play called The Best Man, which is how I got my equity card. And I was a senior in college. And then when I graduated, I went on tour with them. So that was a big major break for me. It got me out of Atlanta. I got to tour and see the countrysides and go all over with them working. But Fried Green Tomatoes, I would think, if I had to name something, there was always, I don't know, we were just working in Atlanta. There was always something, and everything we did was big to me. So,
Well, what's on the bucket list? What role is on the bucket list or that you haven't played yet? There must be a couple.
The Lion in Winter. I can't get that out of my spirit. And I wish I could because it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, why? You know, I think that everybody who watched Katharine Hepburn play Eleanor, did you just, I don't know, it was something about it. It was just infectious. It's something there. We could translate it, put them in Africa, make up something else. I don't know if there is something that I could just put my hand on and say, and I get to ask this question a lot. So, you know, what do you want to do? You know, a producer we were watching Jitney, and I got a note from a producer saying, if there's something that you want to do, please contact me and let me know. Wouldn't mind having your husband either. So I should be thinking of things like that, but I'm so busy. I don't know. I'll find something, and then we can all do a startup thing. What do they call that thing where you put the money in? Kickstart and do it.
That's awesome. Well, this has been a lovely chat. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
and thanks
thank
everybody
you, Jim.
here.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you all for showing up and not having me sitting here by myself.